How comfortable do you feel talking about death? And how comfortable do you feel talking about grief? Are death and grief one of the last taboos? And what if we acknowledge that life and death are inseparable? One cannot exist without the other. One of my favorite Marvel WandaVision quotes is, "What is grief if not love persevering?" Recently, I spent time with the Mauian healers from New Zealand. When they know death is coming to a loved one, they have a beautiful spiritual ritual involving plant remedies, massage, and prayer. The whole tribe come together in this ritual to ease and support the dying. In Andean culture, they celebrate death as it is so much a part of life. When a loved one dies, the family parade the coffin through the streets. All the villagers come out in respect. A brass band plays as they make their way to the cemetery, celebrating their loved one's life. And it's not just when someone dies. Each year, family, friends, including children, gather around the grave with flowers and music to renew the blessings for their loved ones. They do this with storytelling about love, loss, bravery, ancestry. What a way to honor the dead. What a way to grieve for someone you love that has died. You never fully understand grief until you're in it. And I'm sure, like me, you've been kind, caring, and supportive. But on the 20th of August, 2019, my life changed beyond all recognition, and I had a front row seat on death and grief. Only this time, it was different. My 12-year-old son Lucas died in shocking circumstances on the last day of our holiday in Spain. My son died in front of me. And for the first time in his life, I couldn't help him. An hour before, we were swimming in the sea laughing, and Lucas was telling me all about his plans for the future. Life is precious and so fragile. My life imploded at that moment, a moment in time. I don't remember much about that first year surviving without Lucas. Grief had grabbed me by the throat, choking, suffocating, enveloped me. My mind, body, and soul were unrecognizable. I look back at that woman who would sit in the corner on the kitchen floor, staring into space, and watch day turn into night, and then back into day again. She was weighed down with loss, guilt, shame, grief. She lost her appetite for everything. She was broken. Heart palpitations, insomnia, panic attacks, exhaustion, loss of breath. I lost my appetite for everything. A body that constantly ached, a heart ripped out. My mind did not work properly, memory loss, confusion, no attention span. I lost track of time. I lost me. I tried to be kind to myself. I could not. I hated myself, my life. Friends were there, but on the periphery. It's so awkward to be around people that are grieving, isn't it? And over time, friends drop away and family refuse or are unable to talk about it. People step up who you least expect, and they become your rock, your family. In the Western world, and the UK especially, we can be quite reserved when it comes to showing our emotions. We close down and we close off. It's a dust yourself off. Don't mention it. Are you still grieving? Emotions need motion. After that first heartbreaking transformational year without Lucas, I started to reflect on how tribes did this, how tribes supported those grieving. Tribes talked, tribes commune. There must be something in this. Having grief witnessed, it validates feelings and eases the pain of those of us grieving. I needed a tribe. On the 15th of March, 2022, I did something I had never tried before. I had no idea if it would work or if anyone would show up. Don't be alone with your grief. Come, have your grief witnessed. This is how I advertised the opening of the Meet and Grief Cafe. 7 p.m. came, the door opened and people walked in. People who were angry, bitter, confused. They were not broken. They were grieving. I recognized these people. They were my people. They were my tribe. The cafe, in its own unique way, has shown me and the people that come that there is power in grieving and healing together. Like the man whose wife had died only 4 months before of cancer, he didn't know what to do. He was heartbroken. He couldn't speak. He didn't know where or what to do with his grief and vulnerability. We held space. He cried. Or the woman whose son had taken his own life. She was consumed with loss, anger, sadness, guilt, fed up with the people who told her to move on, whose eyes would roll every time she wanted to talk about her loss again and again and again. And me, I finally welcomed grief in as my friend. Oh, I had fought with grief as it tore me to shreds. But I found myself when I allowed grief in. That's when the real healing began. Slowly, painfully, tentatively, and positively. The cafe has proved to be a place of hope, not despair. And yes, we cry and we do talk, but we laugh, we support each other, we celebrate life, our love, our life, our loss. We live. And we have discovered something amazing. Vulnerability is one of our superpowers. Has my view on grief changed? Grief is so personal, and we all grieve differently. We start off in such an angry, lonely place as we feel we have been robbed of a life with our loved one. It's been so beautiful to watch as our tribe who grieve and grow together have allowed grief in and let it take us where it needs us to be at the right time, with the right pace, and in the right environment. And within this, the power of grieving together, we celebrate each other and our loved one's life. I have been able to make my mess my mission as I continue to educate and support people through grief. Death, it is a part of life. And to go back to my One Division quote, what is grief if not love persevering? I will grieve for Lucas for the rest of my life because grief is love and I love my son. Life doesn't just begin and end. It changes and transforms us. Thank you.